Perfect. Would you ever let a fan ride shotgun in the car if that was possible? Would you let a fan
Uh,
ride shotgun?
I would. I mean, I'm fine with it as long as I'm driving. They can ride over there. We can pack as many in there feel as they feel comfortable. But after you see the inside of an Xfinity car, with there not being a seat in the passenger side, especially with as hot as the race cars get, I would assume that they would climb in, sit there for a minute, and then after about 3 to 5 minutes, if we haven't even started the race, we haven't even left pit road, they're like, you know what, I'm out.
I'm good.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go sit back on the pit box. I'm gonna have a drink, and I'm gonna watch from up there, and it's gonna be way better.
Would you say that that's one of the biggest things that maybe the common fan doesn't understand about what you do is how hot it gets in that race car? Or what do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions about what you do as a race car driver?
Typically it's they don't believe that race car drivers are true athletes. And for those who've ever been to a professional football game, Super Bowl, the biggest game of the year, there's a timeout literally every 90 seconds, either TV or something like. I used to think, man, those guys are tough. But then after someone runs out, squirts Gatorade in your mouth, and they're putting a fan on you, they go off the field and they have fans. I'm all like, you know what? That's really not that bad. That doesn't seem bad at all. We have 4 15-minute quarters. Our races typically average at least 4 hours. The interior temperature of the car usually is above 125 to 130 degrees. Now that's 4 hours, 130 plus degrees. We don't get, the only drink I might get is under caution, and it's typically lukewarm because, again, everything inside the car is going to melt almost immediately. You're getting a splash of a drink because, you don't take your helmet off, you don't get a break. There's no bathroom breaks. And when we're traveling at 100 and let's say 180 miles per hour, you're going almost 100 yards in less than a second. So when you're talking about the mental side of being focused, missing your groove by inches can be the difference in tenths of a second. So not only physically do you have to be able to withstand that kind of heat and abuse for 4 hours, you also have to be mentally prepared to do the same thing. So I don't know that there's another sport, professional sport, that can even come close to what we do as race car drivers in the NASCAR series.
That is, I did not know that the cars got that intense inside there. That is a wild statistic. When you say hitting your grooves and missing by a tenth of a second, could you explain that a little bit for the fan?
So obviously we're going around an oval racetrack. There's certain parts of the racetrack that have more grip. Your car changes dramatically from the start of the run when you have brand new fresh sticker tires to say 20 laps into a run. So hitting your marks, as we like to call it, being consistent, lifting and slowing the car down and hitting that perfect spot is typically the difference between a perfect lap and losing a tenth, maybe losing 2/10 of a second. Our fields are so close and the competition is so high that if you miss by a tenth of a second, sometimes that can be the separation of 5 to 10 race cars on the racetrack. So missing your mark, doing that for an Xfinity race is 200 laps.
Yeah.
Doing that for 10, 15 laps. Now you can give up seconds on the racetrack, which can equate to a better finish. So you almost have to be, it's difficult to be perfect. And I don't know that there anyone that is, but if you can be 90% perfect for an entire race, you're going to beat a lot of race car drivers out there.
Yeah, you were talking earlier, no bathroom breaks. I asked this to every driver. Have you ever peed in the suit during a race?
I have. It's not easy. I've been doing this is 20 years of racing some form of NASCAR, if it was truck, Xfinity, or Cup, and I can count on probably one hand, maybe two, the amount of times that you just couldn't make it any further. There's some guys that like weekly would have an accident. They call it an accident, not really an accident. Robbie Gordon used to be the best because he used to wear what was called like the stadium buddy, which looked like kind of like a catheter with like a condom, and he would run it at the bottom of his uniform. So I mean, there was times that he could be standing on pit road and just let loose, and next thing you know, there was a puddle next to him. You're like, yeah, stay clear of that. So there are certain drivers that, again, 10, 15 laps into every race, that's what they did. I mean, again, it's a balance, right? Because you have to be hydrated. You don't want to fail physically. So, if you're overhydrated, there's a point where, you've got more in you than you've been able to sweat out, and you're just going to have to pee. So, there's been guys who've had the other problem Tony Stewart's probably the most famous for having to go the other one. tried to find a replacement driver, could not find him one. He had an accident, won the race, and then he stopped the car short. They took him to his motorhome. He changed, came back, and then did Victory Circle after that. So that's probably the most famous of the bad experiences with the bathroom situation.
Do you think that you could eat while you're driving? I mean, like, I know there's a mask and everything, but if you were forced, like, hey, here's a snack, lift up the visor, throw it in, throw it back down. Is that possible?
Oh yeah, no, it's totally possible. Doing the Coke 600, which is in May, the Memorial Race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, that's 600 miles. That is a excruciatingly long race, and there's been plenty of times where I've had a power bar or something in the car. Sometimes you get under caution, and you'll try to eat as much of it as you can just to kind of make it through. It's tough, but I mean, you can do it. I've had all sorts of adventures in my time with stuff going in your helmet, stuff coming out of your helmet. It's just part of the deal.
That's hilarious. If you could have fans control one thing on race day, what would it be for you? Like something you're just like, oh, I got to do this again. Or like fans just make that decision for you.
Again, I think the choose cone portion of what we do, again, that's new to our sport. It is tough. Like usually I'll leave that up to the spotter. He's counting the bottom, the top, and depending on where you are on the racetrack, you can gain some positions. If like the bottom groove is the preferred line, sometimes you'll get more guys go there. You're like, okay, I'm going to go the top groove, and you might pass 3 or 4 rows, which could equate to 6 positions without ever really doing anything. But as soon as they throw the green, you better figure out how to get back into the preferred line. And, that's why I think something like a Phoenix, you can get away with that, and it's not necessarily detrimental to the finish. So, you could leave that up to someone who is uneducated or just was like, yeah, go to the top. Let's see what happens. And it's like, okay, you just pull your belts, pull the belts down tight. They throw the green flag, and then you go fight for every inch that you can get.
Can you describe your driving style in 3 words?
3 words. I would say, can I do it in less than 3 words? Because I would say aggressively conservative. And I say that because these races are long. It's that old story of the young bull and the old bull. You can be the young bull, and you can go out there and they drop the green flag, and you can go like hell. And there's a good chance that you are going to go back on the rollback or the tow truck before the checkered comes out. So, I've been doing this long enough. You have to be there at the end in order to get a good finish or even try to win the race. So you can be aggressive, but you still have to be smart enough to know that when there's time to go racing and a time to just kind of bide everything, be smart, and then be there at the end when it's time to strike.
Aggressively conservative. Would you describe that as like how you treat like a dinner? Like I'm aggressively but conservative, like a good meal.
No. If it's a good meal, I want to kill it. That's a totally different thing. And the repercussions are totally different too. I mean, bounce off the wall at 180 miles an hour hurts. Sure. Just shoving too much food in you. I mean, it'll go away. It'll be okay.
Yeah. I maybe scary is the wrong word, but what do you think like the scariest, most intimidating thing about going fast is?
There's really nothing intimidating about going fast. It's when something goes wrong. These cars are designed to go 200 plus miles an hour. So that's easy. It's when you have a failure and now you've lost control and it's something different. Again, you do it long enough, when something's happening, you cut a tire, you get loose, racetrack conditions, what have you. But when there's a failure, a mechanical failure, and now all of a sudden you've lost brakes, the throttle hangs, and you're kind of in a situation you don't ever deal with, that's when the fear kind of kicks in and you're like, oh, this is a bad situation. And even though like watching it back on TV or for the fan, it happens so quickly behind the wheel, that split second seems like it takes what would be an eternity.
Have you ever sneezed during a race?
I've sneezed, thrown up. I mean, you name it. It's it's happened at one point or another. Having a
Oh
sneeze like a
man.
restart, that's probably the toughest part. But yeah, you go through all those things. All still things happen.
If you got pulled over for speeding and a cop said you can get out of this ticket, but you have to race me, would you take that option?
You know, I'm not much of a speeder, but if I had to race a cop to get out of a ticket, I mean, I would go for it. I'm not scared. I mean, I know I'm more qualified than he is. Just as long as we're on equal playing grounds. He's not in his car, and I'm, in a rental Prius that I got at the racetrack. So you got to know you're fighting with equal kind of equipment.
You like your chances.
I like my chances.
How many speeding tickets have you had in your illustrious career off the track?
Since I've had a driver's license, I think I've had two. I'm not a huge speeder. I'm not a fan of it. And it's not because I'm worried about myself. I mean, as much driving as I do in all the different states and all the different cities, there's some really bad drivers out there. So adding speeding to it's just not worth it. I have a bigger problem with the people that ride 3 miles an hour slower than speed limit in the fast lane, or can't maintain speed. Just those are more the frustrating things to me. But yeah, not a huge speeder.
So you would say your biggest pet peeve is of other drivers on the road?
Oh my God, yes. It's like kind of like going to the airport. Like when people are like don't know where they're going, you're like, there should be a lane for your first time, which again, everyone has it, and that's fine. But like, dude, I know where I'm going. I've got my stuff together. Get out the road. And the typical same thing on freeways. It's tough. COVID, we're gonna blame it on COVID. They were just handing out driver's license for free. Like, here you go. You don't need to take a driving test. You get a driver's license. You get a driver's license. So yeah, it's pretty brutal.
How on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say your road rage is?
I would say I can keep it below 5.
Okay.
I mean, I typically try not to get on the horn or start waving at people. My wife gets on me. She yells at me because I talk to the person like like they're listening, which I know they're not, but I feel better. And that's my way of calming myself. If I don't say something, then I get more upset. So I'm like, oh my God, get out of the road. And then I'll be like, okay. Yeah. So, I get that look of stupidity. But my wife's car, she's got a Tahoe and it says be kind as her license plate. So it's tough to like drive by, run them off the road and give them the bird and then have, that is your license plate. So
that's tough.
Yeah, I try to keep it below a 5 on the crazy meter.
Did you pass your driver's test the first time around?
Oh yeah, piece of cake. Written and driving, which I did in a 1985 Suburban. So like when they had a parallel park, the guy's like, yeah, you can't only back up once. I'm like, dude, this thing is longer than this spot I'm going in. Just give me a little. So I think the only thing I got dinged for was stopping at the light. I was kind of a little bit out into the crosswalk. So that was what kept me from getting 100.
Are you a good parallel parker?
Oh yeah, I can parallel park. I can do all those things, and I can do it like old school, like without cameras, or the cheating portion where people just like push a button and it does it for them. So I'm still a little nervous. I definitely like my wife's car is new, painted wheels, so I am not going to be the first one to scuff a wheel. But yeah, parallel parking, all those things. If I can't do that, I certainly shouldn't be behind the wheel of a race car.
What's the scarier parking lot, the mall or a grocery store?
It doesn't matter. They can both get you. I'll park so far out, like I'm the only car out there, and then I'll come out, and there'll be some crazy SOB that's right next to me. I'm like literally, give me one spot. Just scoot over one. So I'll circle around and try to find an island. That way, I know I can only get one side beat up.
What's the better celebration alcohol? Is it beer or is it champagne?
Oh, I don't know that either one of those would be very good. I think the champagne is good for making a mess. Like you win a victory lane, you're popping the bottle, you're spraying everyone. That's great. Do you want to drink it? No, I don't think you want to put that down, especially stuff they give you in victory lane. It's pretty, it's not really edible. So you make a mess of that, and then you'll go get the other stuff and get something mixed up.
When did you know you wanted to be a race car driver?
I started racing at the age of 9, which it was almost a little bit late. But my dad raced. I went to races as a kid. I mean, that's pretty much all I did and knew. Played baseball in Little League. Started racing professionally at the age of 14. So it was one of those situations where, I was in middle school racing against adults, playing Little League, and my dad's like, "Hey, you're either going to be a race car driver or you're going to try to be a baseball player. Like, pick one." But it's too difficult to do both. And obviously, anyone has the ability to chase that dream of being a baseball player and not do what I've been able to do my entire life. So I've done racing, obviously never realized or had the goal of making it through some of the things I've been able to. I just wanted to go race, and did well enough, moved up the ranks, until next thing like, wow, I'm at the Indianapolis 500. I'm the youngest, at the time was the youngest starter, and just, kind of pinch yourself. And then, next thing I've got the opportunity to go NASCAR racing, doing Daytona 500s. And, it's been a situation where it's a dream come true, but just nothing I really, as a kid, had as my major aspiration. I just wanted to go race cars and win races.
Do you remember your first win?
I do. It was like a whole bunch of freaky things happened. I was racing in Chico, California. I was racing a dirt sprint car. Just took the lead, led a couple laps. A lap car ran me off the back straightaway fence. I kept it off the fence. It cut a tire, and then the lights went out on the back straightaway. All this happened simultaneously. So they threw the red flag to fix the lights. That allowed me to change the tire and get my position back. So instead of what would have forfeited the the lead and given everything away, put everything back together, got it changed. They threw the green, finished the last 10-15 laps, won the race. But it was definitely one of those situations where someone upstairs was looking out for me, because the fact that the lights went out when all these things were happening was just crazy. So, and it wasn't because of the lights that I fell off the racetrack. It was because the lap car had done me bad. So
that is something special. I love that.
Yeah, I can remember that story, but I couldn't tell you what I had for lunch yesterday. So I guess that comes with old age.
What's a better movie, Days of Thunder or Talladega Nights?
Oh, they're both pretty brutal. I mean, if you're going to go with a racing movie, you got to go Kenny Rogers Six Pack. That's like real legit type of stuff. But if I had to pick between the two, you got to go Days of Thunder. I mean, not that, just wrecking and driving and just like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go pedal the metal and I'm just going to pass all these cars. But, obviously a little bit better storyline than what happened with Ricky Bobby and Talladega Nights. So, the spoof version of what kind of goes on in our sport.
So then that leaves to the easy follow-up: Dick Trickle or Cole Trickle?
Oh, it's going to be Dick Trickle. Yeah. And if you not only does he have like the coolest name in racing, he was just a legendary badass. I mean, I was lucky enough to meet him when I ran the IROC series in 2004. And like, the guy drank coffee from sun up to sundown, had cigarettes in, like, he literally used to keep cigarettes in the race car, and he would light up a cigarette under caution back in the days of open face helmets. Like, true badass kind of guy that, yeah. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The things that they did back, and when racing was when they were in their prime.
Do you think Richard Petty's record will ever be broken?
No, it won't be. The competition level that we have now in our sport is so much higher. I mean, I think it's the highest it's ever been in the time I've been in the sport. And again, I've been here for a pretty long time. You look at those races back then when Richard Petty used to dominate. He won every race, and there'd be like 3 cars on the lead lap, and it just, it was nothing like it is now. So to get to that, no, I don't think we'll see that in our modern era.
Right on. If you could have music playing on the car radio, if you guys had radios, what kind of music are we listening to?
Oh, we're gonna have some 80s rock. I'll probably have some Scorpions playing, maybe some Motley Crue, something that's just gonna make it a little bit, get the elbows up a little higher, a little more aggression, and go for it. So
I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'd be listening to. I know that. Do you if NASCAR forced you to use turn signals, would you use them?
I unfortunately am a turn signal guy. I abide by the law. I wear my seatbelt. I use my turn signal. I cuss those that don't, and it's usually like the guy that goes from the fast lane through 7 lanes and gets off the freeway, and you're like, "What an idiot!" Of course, that's when I start talking to myself too. So, yeah,
Be
like
kind.
even by myself.
Be kind, JJ. Be kind.
That's it. I try to do my best. I try to be my best in society. But yeah, even if I'm by myself, I like to practice. Like I'll be out in the middle, 3 in the morning driving somewhere. Turn signal. Here it goes.
You and me both, man. It's my biggest pet peeve when people don't use turn signals. Yep. My wife gets on me too.
It's not going to be me that you're cussing at then.
Nope. Okay. Is Dale Earnhardt's mustache the greatest facial hair in sports history?
You would have to say yes. I mean, I can't think like off top of my head of anyone that would be even close.
Maybe Raleigh Fingers, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think just that big old bushy mustache behind the gargoyle glasses with just that, and it was never really a smile. It was more of just a smirk, and that smirk carried a lot of different meanings. Like there was a lot of honoriness behind what Mr. Senior had going on back in the day.
Something special. Are you good at racing video games? Like, were you a Mario Kart guy? Did you play any of the NASCAR games, Gran Turismo, Cruising USA, anything like that?
I never was really a massive video game guy. We did the iRacing deal for NASCAR a couple years ago when we had COVID. I have a sim rig in my third story. I hate it. Like, I don't have I don't say it's like the respect, because like you crash, you just press reset, it's all good. So to drive like you would in real time, I can't do it. Like I overdrive, I run into stuff. I mean, there's no consequences, so why not just go out there and beat the crap out of it? Because it's not like you're gonna get charged for the damage that you're gonna get. So, certain games are more fun, our games and things like that. But yeah, to do the iRacing and some of that stuff.
No.
Yeah, I struggle a little bit. And I like the old Daytona games, like you could play at the pizza place.
Yeah,
I'd rip those up, but like same thing. Like I didn't drive like you're supposed to. I maybe was sliding sideways and bouncing off of stuff. So,
right on. Can you describe, like in a sentence or two, what it feels like when you hear "Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines" and you flip that toggle? What that feeling is like in that car?
It's surreal. Like when you have almost all of our races have over 100,000 fans at them, so you can hear them scream. You can hear that over the engines roar. And when you go rolling down pit road, I mean, again, that's why I've been doing this so long. Those butterflies don't go away. That excitement of rolling out there in front of that many people in the grand stage of NASCAR auto racing, there's nothing that describes it. Like when you start going through the gears, you still kind of get that emptiness in your gut. Like, oh yeah, that all settles away after a lap, and it's just back to business as usual. But if you don't have that excitement level every time you get behind the wheel, I mean, I don't know what you're doing it for.
Sounds awesome. I don't know. I like driving cars fast, and I've never actually been on a track. I live close to a track out here in California, but just the idea of being able to go that fast and everybody else is going that fast, and that's what you're supposed to do. Kind of a dream scenario, right?
Now, I've been on the 5 and the 405 and all those. I mean, that's pretty damn close to racing when you get out there at especially whenever it's a little bit later and it's not a parking lot. Yeah, I've spent plenty of time racing those California freeways, typically in a truck and trailer. But there's some crazy guys that will definitely go shooting. And now I know why the pet peeve of the blinker is a big thing for you.
Yeah, because I live in a state where there's a lot of bad drivers, like you said, man. A lot of bad drivers. Do you talk smack at all to any of your fellow drivers on race day? Do you have a rival? Do you get in people's heads? Is that any part of your racing strategy?
I mean, it's not necessarily a part of the strategy. Now, I mean, there's some people out there, when I'm doing the Xfinity stuff, I like to mess with Jeremy Clements, Jeffrey Earnhardt's, he's a good guy. There's a handful of guys that are fun that you can kind of play with and, we'll dig back and forth. But You try not to get that too stirred up before you get on a racetrack, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, next thing you know, out there, you're leaning on them, you get into them, and then they can take it personally, which, obviously that's never the intent. But there are different times in the race that you got to use the chrome horn, and it's time to go. And if they're not getting out of the road, you got to do what you got to do.
The chrome horn? Can you explain that?
Chrome horn. Yes, that's the front bumper. So obviously we don't have horns in those race cars. So whenever you get up there and it's time to move someone, you go up and you give them a little bump. Sometimes you get the air off of them, but that's the signal of, okay, I'm significantly faster than you. I can't get by you. I'm just going to move you out of the road.
What does that feel like when somebody hits you from behind like that, or you go and take, like, what is the? I just want to know, because I've been in a couple car accidents, right? They're not great. It's not fun, but that's part of your sport. So, like the rubbing his racing line is Days of Thunder. Us normies that aren't race car drivers, that's all we know, right? All we know is what movies have taught us. So
Sure.
What does that feel like?
It depends on if you're on the giving end, it's great, because you go up there, you move the guy, and then they start getting out of the gas, and you keep pushing them a little bit more. Then they'll have to correct for the car getting sideways, and that gets them out of your road. Now, when you're on the other end of it, someone's shoving you, now you have to make that decision. Like, okay, am I close enough in speed that I can hold them off? Are there enough laps left that makes sense? Like, if there's 10 laps to go in the race, well, I'm going to do everything I can to stay in front of him. If there's 50 laps to go, well, then you just kind of move over and you let him go by. And, again, that's where that patience comes from, of, do you want to be aggressive, or do you just want to be there and make sure you're there at the end so you can come back and battle a little bit harder? So you have to make that decision of when it's a good time to go. That is the juice worth the squeeze, means a lot in our sport. So that's typically when I try to fall back on it and decide on where you are in the race, and if it's worth what's going on.
What's your favorite track you've ever raced?
It's changed over the years. Chicagoland Speedway used to be my favorite racetrack. We don't go there any longer. The facility's still there. Unfortunately, we stopped racing about 3-4 years ago. I love going to Phoenix. Obviously, that's my hometown, but it's a fun racetrack regardless that's where I'm from. Like places like Bristol. I used to hate Bristol. Like, I think I was leading a race under caution or under a rain delay, and I was like, man, I wish this pace just filled with water. They could come put fish in here. It'd be a better fishing tournament than it is a racetrack. Just hated it. But over the years, it's evolved and changed, and now it's one of my favorite racetracks, just because, it's a high groove, there's a bottom groove, there's, you can go anywhere you want. So I try not to stay too focused on, my favorite tracks. I enjoy racetracks where you have opportunities, which means, you go to a racetrack where there's one groove. If you're not fast in that one groove, you're going to have a long, crappy day. But if you have options, like I can go the middle groove, I can go the top, and I can find a place that my car handles better, and I can find speed. Well, now as a race car driver, I've done my job, because I've made up for the lack of equipment, lack of handling, setup, what have you. So the more power I can have as a race car driver to do better, that's what I want.
I like that answer. I will say, you're the third out of the fourth interview, and Stefan and David both said the next one. That was their answer when I asked them their favorite track. They said the next one.
Favorite track is the next one.
Yeah. So,
well,
I like your answer better. I'll be honest. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. I like your answer better. It gives me a lot more to work with, JJ. It gives me a lot more to work with.
There's going to be places that you hate to go. I mean, it's just, you're going to be honest. There's going to be racetracks that they're not fun racetracks. Sometimes it's where you go, like Martinsville. That's one of the races we have coming up here at the end of the season. It's like racing in a parking lot. It's no fun. It sucks. Mm-hmm. So whenever we get to Homestead, when they say the next one, they're lying, because everyone hates Martinsville. If they don't, then I don't know. Something's wrong with them.
And yet you keep going back to Martinsville. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah.
All right. You don't have the... Oh, I lost you. Son of a bitch. Oh, there, you're back.
That happened.
You're back. You're good. Okay, only a couple more questions. I appreciate your time, JJ. It's been a lot of fun, man. What do you think separates you from... Are you back? Do you have me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear
Hello?
you. I can hear you.
I cannot hear a thing.
You can't hear me, huh? Did your headphones die?
They're still in my ears.
Take them out.
Hold on. Check.
I can hear you. Can you hear
Check.
me? I can hear you.
I can't hear you. Damn it.
Can't hear me?
You got nothing.
Take these out. Take them out.
Take it out.
Okay.
That's all I get.
Now, how about now?
No, it didn't work either.
Damn it. Leave. Can you hear me now?
Hello?
There. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you at all. I think it's on your end.
What
I
the-
didn't have.
my
I completely unhooked my earbuds.
All right, I'm gonna leave and come back.
I'm straight
Hold
up on phone.
Wait, come back. Wait, come back. Jess, you can still hear me, right? So it's definitely on his end, right? It's got to be his. We can hear him. He can hear me. There we go. Let's try here.
Oh my God, I hear you.
You got me? I'm back.
Dude, what's up with your equipment?
No, I'm talking to my producer back. She can hear you. She can hear me. I don't know what happened to you.
Someone called my phone. I'm gonna blame them.
It canceled me out. It canceled me out. All right, we have 2 more questions. That's it. Two more
Okay,
questions.
I'm ready. I'm good.
Cool. All right. What separates you from other drivers?
What separates me from other drivers? I like to tell people to be a race car driver, you don't necessarily have to have raw talent. I feel like there's definitely better race car drivers than me out there, but sometimes you can make up for that in desire, preparation, knowledge. So I take all of the tools that I can get to make myself better, to make up for any shortcomings I can possibly have. So I'm ready for any situation that can be presented behind the wheel on the racetrack. And again, when I talked earlier about being perfect, the more perfect you are in a race, the better you're going to finish, the more chances you're going to have of winning the race. Don't make mistakes. Don't be stupid. So I'm going to say that perseverance, being smart, is what I tried to use to separate me from the other guys.
I always tell people you can't teach speed and you can't teach stupid. So that kind of falls in line with what you said.
There are 2 rules in life. And I've taught my daughter both of these. Rule number 1, you cannot fix stupid. Like that's rule number 1. You cannot fix stupid. And rule number 2 is never trust a fart, but I used to run a lot, so that was totally different. So we stick with rule 1 a lot more, but yeah, you can't. So there's a lot of guys out there. And again, our sport has changed. There's a lot of younger guys who have less experience. Our sport has turned more sponsorship driven, money driven. So, I want to say not the most talented race car drivers make it in our series because unfortunately less talented drivers who have funding can get opportunities to be in our sport. So again, sometimes there's a difference between the two, not to drag the politics into our sport or take the fun out of the conversation, but
It happens.
it happens.
Yeah. All right. Final question. One last thing to the fans. Why should you drive the fan-controlled car on November 4th?
2 reasons. First one, that's hometown for me, man. That's Phoenix. I love it. I'll be there in a cup car. I love to be in an Xfinity car. I love nothing more to be behind the wheel of a race car. That's my life. It's been my life forever. Number 2, I'm gonna get the best finish of the guys that are up for this deal. I'm the guy that's gonna go out there, kick ass, move people out of the way, get the best finish, and make them proud that they chose me to go out there and represent them.
As the great Billy Idol once said, with the rebel Yeley, she cried more, right?
That's exactly it. 100%.
JJ, thank you so much, man. Download the Fan Controlled Control app and start voting now. This is Fan Controlled Racing.